with a technology that truly is blind. Code is blind. Isn't that awesome? It doesn't care what skin color you have, what hair color you have, the color of your eyes, the color of anything really. It's just about the code. And that's one of the beautiful things about blockchain that I connected with when I was, oh gosh, it was 2011, 2012. And I'll give you a just quick insight into my life in space, and then tell you a little bit about the birth of the chamber, and then share about the blockchain ecosystem platform specifically, and then give you some insights into how I believe the blockchain ecosystem will develop over the coming years and truly usher in the fourth industrial revolution. So I personally am an educator and a connector. I taught for over 13 years, reg ed, special ed, gifted. I just love educating. And so when Sharif asked me to participate with this event, seeing the focus that they have in the MENA Blockchain Institute, I just really resonated with it. And I was teaching at the time that I saw a Bitcoin faucet, and some of you may not even know what that is. So in the early days, they were trying to incentivize people to engage with the Bitcoin blockchain. And that was really the only instance of a blockchain that was available at the time. And so it was like, you know, you can earn 0.1 Bitcoin every 10 minutes if you play this game and download this wallet. So I believe, at my parents' computer at the time visiting, and I didn't want to download anything on their computer that might give them a virus or a worm or something. And I was like, yikes, you know, this is a little bit disconcerting, you know, not to understand even what this is. And so that's what got me interested. I started digging into what is Bitcoin, and, you know, what is a wallet, and how does this work? And, you know, I saw some of the first instances of, you know, a ticker of, you know, the Bitcoin price at the time. And, you know, I watched it rise fairly significantly and then come back down and rise all under $100. And I told my husband, like, we need to do something about this Bitcoin. I think it's like, it's really different. It's something that we should probably buy some of it. And he kind of laughed at me. He's like, it's like, you know, internet funny money. You know, his background's in finance. So I was like, okay, I got to dig and figure out how to convince him. And so I came up with it. It was an uncorrelated asset class. It was a diversification for our portfolio, and that it was a potential chaos hedge. And, you know, since that time, you know, we had instances in Greece and some different things with villains, and, you know, just challenge points in countries with their fiat currency being rapidly devalued, where Bitcoin has shown itself to be a chaos hedge and a store of value. And so those were my arguments to my husband. And I think it was the third time that I came to him with those, that he said, okay. And the experience at that time of actually purchasing Bitcoin was very convoluted and uncomfortable, and you had to get cash from the bank and stand in line at, you know, one of the local stores. I think it was a Walgreens, which is kind of a pharmacy slash you know, convenience type store. And there was an ATM at the back, and you had to take a letter of instructions to the clerk, give her your cash or him your cash, and they would sit there and count it while everyone in line is looking at you funny. And then they would, you know, give you a little receipt. You had to take the receipt to the back where the ATM was, enter the receipt information, and then it spits you out some letters and numbers that you were supposed to go home and put into your instance of the Bitcoin blockchain on your personal computer. And that was, you know, one of the weirdest experiences, taking what you know, this is real cash, right? And now it's a string of letters and numbers. How did I mess up? Was this the wrong choice? And so fortunately, it wasn't the wrong choice. And even in 2019, Bitcoin was the best performing asset class in the world. So it has definitely been the best performing asset class in our portfolio. And this is not a pitch for Bitcoin. The chamber is platform and token agnostic. So whether you choose to be in any level of Bitcoin or any other type of token, or you invest in blockchain companies, or you own a blockchain startup, it doesn't matter, right? It's just, is there something about this technology that sparks you? And is there something you're actually willing to do about it? And I just did a talk about diversification will determine your destiny. And you have to educate yourself first, but then you have to act. And I just think that's such an important awareness to have, that all of the information, all of the content in the world doesn't make any difference in your life until you act. If you don't choose to act, it's useless. It does not change your life. And so maybe my example, I mean, seeing Bitcoin go from under $100 to over 1,000, and then being able to take profits off of that, and then getting back in when it was in the low hundreds, and seeing it as something that was a long-term growth hold, not just a get-rich-quick scheme, right? That has really shaped the way that I look at the markets, the way I engage with any cryptocurrencies. And I'm very happy to be personally invested, not just in tokens and coins, but in blockchain-based projects and companies that are really doing great, not just for their shareholders, but for the environment. Last week, the Chamber, well, actually last month, we hosted 3 events that highlighted the supply chain vertical. And DFM Data Corp is a company that we were able to highlight. A member of the Chamber had them on stage with the likes of IBM and NASDAQ, and showcasing and having, you can go on YouTube and check that out. I don't need to rehash those events, but it's just been a wonderful opportunity to connect. And it was in 2017, end of 2017. Just another personal side note, I had done 3.5 years of caregiving for my in-laws. So although I had been teaching full-time, those 3.5 years took me out of the education field, and were just a very deep dive into being an example to my kids of how you treat family, and being part of the solution for people that we loved. And it was a challenging time, granted, but coming out of it, and unfortunately my father-in-law did pass away. My mother-in-law is still living, and she's a very vibrant woman down in Tampa. But the coming out of that time frame was when I began to immerse myself into the blockchain ecosystem that had formed during those 3.5 years, where maybe, I mean, there's probably a year that I didn't even look at the Bitcoin price once. I mean, that's how not a part of my reality it was, just because of how dialed in we were into the caretaking side of things. But when I started getting back into this ecosystem, I was like, wow, there's a lot of events that are, talking about different projects. And then I saw the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, and it was their very first event. I went and attended. It was in Atlanta, inside the Beltway, this big interstate loop around the city, about 1 million people. And they were having people raise their hands. How long have you been in cryptocurrency of any sort? Have you owned it for a month? People raise their hand 2 months, 3 months, 5, 6. They got to 5 years, and I was the only one with my hand still up. And that was the first time that it sunk into me that I was a pioneer, that I had done something differently than the majority. And obviously it put me on the radar of the founding team of the Chamber as well. And so they asked me to come and share my experience base, how we'd initially gotten, involved. And that led to being asked to be on a panel, and then participating in a debate about regulations versus, no regulations, versus I turned it into smart regulations. And fortunately we won. I think there's truly a space for smart regulations. And in many instances, the blockchain actually provides those smart regulations in its very code, in its governance. But it was a fun way to be introduced to the core team of people leading the Chamber, to connect with the community. And my progression with the Chamber has just been a journey over the past 2 years that I've just been very, very blessed and thankful for. And one of the value adds, and I know many are still in a semi-lockdown or full lockdown mode. And this time of COVID has definitely been a pain point for many, or had multiple pain points for many. But I was very blessed and fortunate to have the members of the chamber internationally that were being impacted before the US got hit, that were sharing what was going on and raising my awareness and the awareness of the core team in Atlanta of what was coming. And because of that, I was able to do 2 weeks of sheltering in place with my family, pulled my kids from school early. And actually, before there was an official lockdown of any sort in Georgia, we physically moved outside of the Beltway. And my kids have gotten to, play in the woods and, jump on the trampoline and ride their bikes and hang out with their cousins and be kids and not be surrounded by rioting and the pain points that have existed inside of the Beltway in Atlanta. And I just feel very, very thankful. And I know that it was just it was a good thing to see what was coming and be able to be prepared. And I think there's more coming that we all need to be prepared for. And I shouldn't talk about it while I'm feeling the level of emotion I have right now, but I'll take this time to segue into the deck that I have. I'm not sure that I can share my screen, but I'm going to give it a shot. I do believe I'm going to need my screen sharing activated to be able to share a bit of a slideshow with you guys. So Sharif, if you don't mind giving me co-host controls, that'll allow me to share my screen. And there we have it. Okay. Now I just have to make sure that I pull up the right screen and put it on present. The joys of navigating while you're live, right? Okay. I think this should work. And somebody give me a heads up if you can see Introduction to the Blockchain Ecosystem. Someone let me know that you can see that. Okay, I'm going to take that resounding silence as a yes, we can see it. I think somebody threw yes, thank you, in the chat. I just had to activate it to see it. So, Introduction to the Blockchain Ecosystem. I appreciated the very nice introduction. Obviously, leading the chamber is something that I enjoy, and I'm thankful to have be part of my experience. And one of the things that I got to be a part of, I guess you could call me an ideator of, was the blockchain ecosystem.io platform. And you can see here, it's a combination of multimedia. I mean, you can take the concept of Yelp with its marketplace and partner profiles, and we have that. The individual profiles for contributors. You can get your own profile set up, and it's free. I want to have anybody who's attending here today definitely go in, connect, set up your profile and start connecting into the community. We have a knowledge board that allows for blogging. You can put yourself into a thought leadership role on the ecosystem. There's kind of a newswire function where you can recommend news that's important to you and your region and share it to the community and have it be on the landing page. The activity feed, it's like if you tweet, you can set it up so your tweets on the eco actually populate your Twitter and vice versa. So we've done some neat integrations. Facebook we had integrated, and then they got a little not happy with our platform pulling in and out of there. So that's the functions of competition. We look at this as a cooperative platform, because you don't have to belong to any specific entity. You don't have to belong to the chamber. You don't have to belong to the blockchain association. You don't have to belong to any entity to take advantage of this platform. It is literally designed to serve the community and to support your exposure and engagement and reward you for that. So it's, that's what I would like to see the blockchain ecosystem globally truly be, is a cooperative group of humans, not specific enterprise, not specific, country, government, but humans connecting and supporting each other's growth through emerging technologies like blockchain and other AI enabled, IoT sensor, collaborative connectivity really is so key. So anyway, just bouncing back in, there's an e-newsletter aspect, group discussions. One of the really interesting things is we have semi-private, private, and public groups that you can participate in. And if you comment into a group, it can go out as an email to the group members, and they can actually respond to the email, and it populates into the group. So you can have someone who's, doing business at their enterprise job, and it doesn't look like they're on a social media site. They are engaging with their email, but they're actually commenting into the conversation that's happening there on the eco group. So that's a fun aspect of it. The Q&A is one of the things I'm really, really excited about, because I think it's this week or next, we're going to be activating the ability to do a short, I think it's like a 30-second video clip as a response. So you can give an answer to someone's question by just quickly talking it, into your camera and sharing that. One of the things that enables is it allows us to get to know each other in little sound bites and little, cameo moments where it's like, oh, that's who they are. That's the tone, you just somehow connect differently with people through the video medium. And so we're just wanting to give an opportunity for the community to take advantage of that, to share themselves and their expertise in that way. So very fun, and hope this is something that sparks some questions, makes people interested in how they can maximize it for their own company. And the nice thing about it is dedicated to benefit the community. I mean, I'm going to reiterate that, because I really want that to sink in. We have a rewards infrastructure using the Stellar blockchain. Although the chamber is token and platform agnostic, you do have to choose a token if you're going to reward people. And we haven't felt, with the regulatory uncertainty that currently exists, that we as the chamber should be issuing our own token yet. But when we do, we want it to be an equity token that can be distributed to the members of the chamber globally. So that's our mission, that's our vision in executing a tokenization for the chamber, but that's still down the road. And before we get there, this platform and this reward structure is a part of the piece on the way. So we have the Brainsy platform that is part of the infrastructure. Actually, there's a patented piece on the back end that was designed by a gentleman who worked for Google for a number of years. And it not only gives you one high quality backlink when you connect like a microsite to your traditional site, but it actually gives you a multitude, dozens of high quality backlinks. So that's something that we're excited about offering. And the Blockchain Association is a 501c3, which is in the United States is a nonprofit organization that is partnering with the chamber to really support the adoption of blockchain and the education around it. So we're proud to have them alongside us on this as well. Why offer rewards? I think that's kind of a moot point, right? It's your time, and time should have value, and engagement should be compensated. And right now, and I'll go into this a little more later, we provision ourselves into other people's space, right? A username and password, and then we click that little button. You guys know the cookies one? Yeah, that we permit cookies. And then our activity on the web is tracked, and our data that's gathered through our engagement on various platforms is then monetized, and it's not monetized on our behalf. And so looking at the time that we engage, I think it's important to have that engagement be rewarded. And so everyone in the community gets that, and you get it for a myriad of different things. And I don't want to belabor the point here, but this is just a place where you can go and boost the SEO of your traditional website and do it for so much less than you would otherwise. And here's an example of somebody having their eco site actually rank higher in Google than their LinkedIn. So you can see their LinkedIn is down here, and their Google ranking for an eco site was there. So yeah, so contributors, the value add is there. I have this screen mostly to show off Yogesh Raja. He's the head of innovation at KLME. Some of you may know that's a multi-billion-dollar company, and he's headquartered there in Dubai. And just a lovely man who has tremendous insight in blockchain. Definitely connect with him, and he's just like the headquarters chamber, just like all of the chapter chambers that are established globally. He's there to serve the community and support and educate and collaborate with other blockchain-based entities. And it's not a competition. It's a collaboration where we can be better together. And that's the ethos of the chamber. That's the heartbeat of the chamber. And would love to have anyone who's there in Dubai, in the MENA region, connecting with Yogesh and getting to take advantage of his phenomenal experience base, and just participate with him in supporting the community at large. So you can see we're one of the most naturally diverse organizations. I'm very thankful for that. And like I started, saying, code is blind. So blockchain doesn't see race, ethnicity, gender. I hate the word race. It's ethnicity, because we are the human race. And I think that's an important distinction to draw. So just, this is something that if someone was interested in sponsoring, just so you're aware that is a function. We have some great events that are coming up. I just wanted to pop into them really quickly to kind of not take away, but to take a step away from actually doing a presentation. This is a really fun event, and if it in any way, the timing intrudes with the timing of the events for the MENA event here, I apologize. I didn't double check the times, and these are Eastern Standard, but hopefully it'll dovetail nicely. And we welcome you to sign up. It's free, and Anyavin is going to be doing a really, any of you who know him already, he's a quality gentleman. That he's a lawyer. And, to be able to say those two things side by side, some people think that's not possible, but I believe Anyavin truly has the best interests of the community at heart. And he's going to be talking about how to see the scams, and the ways to avoid the scams, and the ways to avoid exchanges that could abscond with your investments. So that's something that I've taken as a personal lesson. I invested in a smorgasbord of different tokens, and some of them, they didn't have wallets at the time that I made my initial investment. I have to admit, I was a little bit lazy, and I just left them on the exchange. And one of the exchanges, you guys might know, Binance closed down access to U.S. citizens to their international Binance, and then started a Binance USA. But that transition was not a convenient one for me. And then there's other platforms that, and I'm not wanting to be calling out exchanges, but there was another one that I was on that unfortunately just shut its doors after several years. And it's very true, the saying, not your keys, not your coin. So if you're not holding your private key and it's on an exchange, you are subject to whatever may happen to that exchange. It's a very, very personally well-earned piece of advice to share. So Definitely important. And Daniel is going to be doing I just had an hour chat with him today, and one of the members of the chamber, he's going to be showcasing some real blockchain implementation and giving you some of the, just like On will be showcasing the red flags, Daniel will be giving you some evidence of the kind of the check marks of a real quality project and a quality team. So, whoops, I went the wrong direction. So just to let you know, we are, you know, very open in sharing other organizations' events. This is one that dovetails right in front of ours, and it's being hosted by the Blockchain for Europe group, and a great webinar series that they're hosting, and just want to put it on your radar as well. Here's another one coming up June 18th. And if you're interested in Ethereum, which is a public blockchain, the baseline protocol is one that has just recently been worked on. And it's going to be a very, very much worth your while time to connect with the team that has really, you know, put their fingers to building the code for the baseline protocol. And I believe making public blockchain truly enterprise grade. So that'll be a fun opportunity for the community as well on June 18th. Now I'm gonna jump and let me check my time, because I want to make sure that I'm leaving time for questions at the end. I've briefly mentioned this, but we have to change the way that we as humans interact with data. And the way the web was built, it wasn't designed with us in mind. It wasn't designed for us to have identity. It wasn't designed for us to own our data. And we are provisioning ourselves into other people's spaces. And we need to think beyond that. We need to grab the reality that us having digital agency is the freedom of the future. It is the fundamental base layer of the fourth industrial revolution. I believe that very, very strongly. And we need to be able to authenticate people, places, and things, and have a technology stack that really enables that. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. If you can see at the bottom of the screen, this is content from Neurosciences. And Charlie Northrup is a member of the chamber. He presented several months ago when we actually were able to meet in person. He was one of our last event presentations. And I had the privilege of having lunch with him just prior to the event. And we were invited actually to lunch with the gentleman who they actually brokered his first patent stack. And to give you a little scope, he had I guess one of his buddies was a professor at the University of Illinois. And so Charlie saw one of the first instances of the web when it was just professors sending information back and forth to each other, research really. And Charlie said, that's going to be commercialized. And his buddy laughed at him, and Charlie went home and wrote 10 patents that defined e-commerce and the commercialization of the web. And the gentleman who were at the table at lunch with us said, hey, Charlie, did we tell you about that email we got from the winning broker after the deal was consummated? And Charlie's like, no, what are you talking about? And they said, yeah, we got this email forwarded to us from the winning broker, and he got it in response to his last request for how much higher can I bid? And the email simply said, whatever it takes, and it was signed Bill Gates. So that gives you a little bit of a scope, a feel of the level that Charlie has operated at in the past. And, you know, tens of millions of dollars, I mean, just a big technology stack. And what blew me away is as he sat there at that lunch table, he said, you know what? My current technology stack will dwarf that one. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of a glimpse into what that is. And I believe he's right. And this is going to be a journey for the true authentication of people, places, and things, and a new way of doing AI that enables us each to have digital agency that can be provisioned into multiple ecospheres simultaneously while maintaining our privacy in each one. So I hope you enjoy the journey with me. I've been on it for about, I'm going backwards. Sorry, this is just using my keypad or my touchpad, um, not my keys. So I'm trying to touch this, go in the right direction, and it seems to have taken me all the way back to the beginning. Yeah, when I push my buttons, it just gives me that sound, which is rather obnoxious. So here, let's zip back through, just a refresher course. And here we are. So we are in a world in turmoil right now. I'm sure globally we're seeing many of the same pain points and problems. Voting in many areas. Obviously, the U.S. elections are coming up, and that's near and dear to my heart. The democratic process is something that I believe being a citizen in this country gives me the right to participate in, and it's going to be a very interesting time frame to see how that right to vote is maintained during riots and social distancing. So we have, obviously, that's another pain point. People are working from home, they're shopping online. When you do shop, having contactless verification is key. And we're having, oh gosh, the unemployment. The numbers keep changing so quickly. It's hard to keep track of what that is. But the distribution of finances to people that are hurting financially is another pain point that has not been met equally well across the globe. We obviously have had shortages. I went shopping for meat one day, and there was cow tongue and cow cheek. And granted, I've cooked with cow tongue before. It's lengua. You can make tacos. It's super yummy, actually. But cow cheeks I had never seen before, and supply chain has been very negatively impacted, and we have pain points with the authenticity of things, just as straightforward as masks and COVID tests, and we need to be able to verify the source. Who's held it along the way, who currently owns it, where are these pieces of the puzzle that we need to connect with. So these are the pain points, and we have rapidly changing needs. There's just, I mean, if you think about, 5G and how it's rolling out globally, that brings its own series of pain points, and we're becoming so interconnected through technology that being able to manage those ecosystems is really vital. And, do we have, oops, it's doing it again on me. Do we have, I'm sorry for this little technical fun my touchpad is giving me. I guess, it's a good teacher strategy to go back over slides to ingrain them. So just consider this review. Anyway, this is just, kind of why are we coming to where we are now? And it's not that the web it's broken, it's that it doesn't do what we need it to do. And we've got to be stakeholders in the web. And that's pretty much the main, I'm sorry. It's like my fingers don't work going one direction, but um, they seem to. This might be a good time to go to questions. Yeah, for some reason let's see, yeah, it's just taking me back and forth, unfortunately. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I think we're at a good time. We got about 15 minutes for questions. So just to wrap up a little bit about the digital agency, to give you some scope, because unfortunately the slides did not play nicely with me. We've got a technology stack that starts with a physical form factor, and that is pure random data in a multi-dimensional QR code that can be queried just by an everyday cell phone with a camera. So that beginning point where we have something in the physical world that can be connected to a personal secret and create a multi-key that is 2 to the 512th times 2 to the 512th sets. So public-private key pairing sets. That's, I would call it quantum proof, but I know Charlie hesitates to call it quantum proof. The numbers that I just gave you are more than the atoms in the known universe. And I think IBM Watson's, it's not IBM, it's IBM's current quantum computer would take about 40 years to be able to break one of these public-private key pairings. So as an individual, as a human being, we can be empowered with a multi-key that can literally secure our data ad infinitum. And it can provision us into multiple ecospheres, like I mentioned earlier. And just to give you an exemplar of what that means, just like we have websites that have subdomains, you can have a subdomain that's .gov and a subdomain that's .edu, your education one, your vet, your social media, all of those ecospheres can be provisioned into securely, and you control your data. And there's things that should be within the government's purview, and that's provisioned into the government ecosphere. And you can have a public-private key pairing that's the government's key to your personal key, that everything that's done on there, whether it's, licensings or, taxes or all of the things that should be the government's business with you, that's connected. But should they know that you bought worm pills for your pet? Should they? Does it matter? But it's your business, it's your life, and there's nothing about it that necessarily should be within the purview of the government. And we have interesting circumstances that occur where big data processing organizations decide what's in our best interest and what's not, and can actually delete our history with each other as things currently stand. And I had a mother on the phone. Her daughter had called me excited about something she'd seen on a video her mom sent me. And while they were on the phone with me, they both discovered that the video had been deleted and that multiple friends had been removed from their contacts. And it was shocking that the communication between a mother and a daughter could be in someone else's purview to the extent that they felt justified in deleting it. And that's a pain point. That's a pain point that this technology stack can deal with. And so when you think about this public-private key pairing and how it can provision a digital agent, now that's actually over 500,000 lines of code that's already been written that can be spun up on something as simple as a little Raspberry Pi, just a little $30, piece of machinery that can run code. And it can do things on your behalf in the digital world. And what's amazing about this digital agent is that it can learn, and it can learn nouns, verbs, and modifiers, and it can learn them in any language. And one of the verbs that it has been coded for is the verb learn. And it can literally provision itself into websites, to the Library of Congress, to whatever, and learn, actually pick up new vocabulary and learn. And it has a word that's called consider. And we could go into a whole nother hour around what that means and the ramifications. But when you have a digital agent that can act on your behalf based on predetermined, what I call thing applications, so taps, just like we have apps today, super simple ones that, you know, were at the beginning of apps, right? You had the little bouncing ball, you know, you had, you know, little simple games, and now my son builds worlds on an app. And I believe the same thing is going to be possible with thing applications, where we're going to be able to go from something very simple, like, you know, categorize my credit card expenses in, you know, order of merchant, to file my taxes or submit my taxes. And that's going to be a part of the fourth industrial revolution, I believe, where each of us is going to be able to be provisioned into the digital world in a verifiable way, into multiple ecospheres simultaneously, if we want to be, with a digital agent that can act on our behalf in very intelligent and actually, I believe, quantum proof and future proof ways, because these agents can learn. They can learn new blockchains. They can learn new technology. They can grow with us and experience this technological evolution and still function on our behalf. So that's an interesting, I hope, perspective builder for you, and a opportunity for you to hear something that may be new. And I'm going to turn it back over to our host, and happy to take any questions in the last 10 minutes or so.
Many thanks, Linda, for your efforts and sharing this information with us. We really appreciate that. Let's start now with receiving the question from our participants. So if anyone have a question, kindly you can share it through the chat on Zoom, please.
I think Mazan has raised his hand. Are we taking
Yes.
any hand raised, or are we just going through the chat? I think you'd have to take off his mute and camera if you want him to join us. So I see the question, is blockchain technology still unstable in all? So unstable, I'm not 100% sure what's meant by that word. We have some very solid blockchain implementations that have been executed, that are being utilized, that are creating, you know, smoother process flow, that are aiding in the transaction of value transfer. So that's, I'm not quite sure what that instability aspect of the question is. There are some very unstable blockchains. I'll say that there's some that are not supported by strong communities, that have poor governance and consensus models. A blockchain is not the solution for everything, and not every blockchain is one that you should waste your time on or even consider utilizing in any way. There's a lot of blockchain implementations that are poorly executed and should be avoided. So if that's the instability, yes, there are unstable blockchains probably propagated all over the world. There are also some very, very stable blockchains, and obviously the Bitcoin blockchain is one of those much more stable ones, and has a history of withstanding attacks, and is actually very hardened against attacks, is very, very broadly distributed. And there's still question marks and pain points, I'm sure, that can be addressed with every blockchain. But it continues to be an emerging technology that is finding very strong use cases in a number of verticals. Well, a number in a dozen plus verticals. So And when I say use cases, I mean actual functional implementation. We've seen it in the food chain, where farmers are actually getting 20% more, well, actually getting 20% of the value of their crop versus 2 to 3%. So, I mean, basically 10xing their income because they're using a blockchain solution. So those types of things, that's going to contribute to the stability of the world and our food chains. And so I was just to tell you, we can see you. Where should a small project management company start with blockchain? A small project management company. It depends on what kind of projects you manage, and if you manage the finances of that company, of those companies. So with real estate and construction, you can be a facilitator of the value chain, right? Where everybody along the path of the, if you're doing construction, everybody has to get paid, right, along the way. And so building smart contracts that take into consideration the different parties along the way. I would probably, as a short answer, I would introduce you to Jack Berube, or Jack Berube. I guess that's the French sound of his name, but Jack leads the real estate vertical for the chamber, and he has an end-to-end platform for real estate transactions. And that would be a fantastic place to start, get to know what he's already done. And he's connected with a lot of people internationally around real estate and the construction space as well. So yeah, connect with what has already been built, and you can use that to help build your conceptual knowledge, and then say, okay, what can we manage as a lift for ourselves. And the beautiful thing is there's being more and more platforms built that actually are low code or no code. So you can just know your business process and input your business process in such a way that you can have smart contracts written on the behalf of your specific business process without needing to code Solidity or having an awareness of the specific language that is being used for that blockchain. It can be built for you in a no code, or at least a very low code way. So where do I see blockchain involvement with genomic or DNA sequencing data? Well, just personal opinion. I think there's a lot of positive uses and a lot of possible misuses for DNA sequencing data. And I would like to believe that I, as a human being, should have the right to decide what is done with my sequenced DNA. And blockchain can be, playing a role in that. If we go to a technology stack like I described briefly that Charlie Northrup has designed, you could actually provision access to your DNA sequencing to research entities for a specific purpose, but not have it used by entities that you may not even be aware of. You can own that data and actually earn from it. And I think that's one of the appropriate uses of blockchain in relation to DNA. I know there's some people that have worked with DNA sequencing data and putting it on the blockchain and having that being accessible through a public-private key pairing. So it's kind of using the security of blockchain to help have that data available but permissionable. So there's a variety of ways that can be managed. But yeah, you could probably do a very quick and easy search on DNA sequencing data and blockchain and get probably 5 or 6 dozen companies that are pursuing that. And this is like with everything else about emerging technologies that are really powerful, like blockchain and AI. If they're in the right hands, they can be used for incredible good. And if they're in the wrong hands, they can be used to the detriment of humanity. And I, for one, don't want to see a dystopian society where all of my transactions and every activity that I do that involves a value transfer or a data transfer is within the purview of another entity that I don't in any way have autonomy from. It's important. This is such a powerful technology that it's implemented by people that have the right intent. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to see implementations that don't have the right intent. And we are going to see people whose lives are controlled, whose engagement in commerce is managed and monitored in such a way that we lose some of our basic freedoms around privacy. And I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that it's only good actors that take the power of this technology. But I think it's up to each and every one of us. And the only thing required for evil to triumph is that good men and women do nothing. And so if there's anything that I've said that has sparked a desire in you to do good with blockchain, to connect with people that have the right intent, I'm happy to continue the conversation. And once again, very much appreciate the opportunity, Sharif, to share with your community and to connect with the ladies and gentlemen who have been on the call today. So, and I would very much enjoy, I'm seeing some comments, and I don't know that I'll be able to connect with everybody directly, but please, LinkedIn is a platform you can connect with me at. You can go to the ecosystem.io platform and connect. This is, an open invitation to work together and to have co-opetition across country lines. I mean, this is a time for humans to connect with humans and not let borders divide us or any other superficial things. So happy to be part of the conversation with you. And once again, thanks, Sharif.
Thanks a lot, Linda. And guys, we are going to share the recorded session with you by tomorrow maximum through our YouTube channel. And don't forget that we have another session tomorrow at the same time. And we are going to talk about blockchain application and the challenges in MENA region. Thanks a lot, Linda, again, and thanks a lot for sharing this information with us. If you never mind, you can share with us the presentation that you have presented to us before in order to share with our participant. Thanks a lot and have a nice night. Have a nice day.
You as well.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.